Chapter 637.
Boom.
The speed of the space pattern was so fast that Morong Chingchen could not react in time. Her back landed on it, and her face turned pale as she puked out a mouthful of blood. I have to use my demon power essence now. A beam of gold light appeared in her eyes as a huge amount of black light poured out of Morong Chingchen's body. It was like a crystal thread, extremely condensed. That seemingly indestructible space pattern was shattered immediately after being hit by the black light, looking like a massive mirror exploding in the air.
What?
Xia Hozuan's expression froze. The purity of that black light was unbelievably high, and it would be impossible for a Sea of Souls realm warrior to have this kind of horrifying power. Even a half-step king warrior would be lacking a little bit. However, it was obvious that she could not control such a high-purity power, which had caused the power to be diluted. Otherwise, the space pattern would not have been shattered. Who is she? Watching Morong Chingchen leave the room and come to the tunnel, Xia Hozuan thought to himself, I can only use my demon power essence to increase my speed. If I increase my attack power, although it would be able to threaten her, it would only make her look worse. Once it drags on, she would not be able to run away even if she wanted to. It was not that Morong Chingchen had not thought about using her demon power essence to kill her, but it was obviously not possible. It would be hard for her to even wound her badly. If it were someone like Lin Tian, then she would be able to kill her with one attack, since she could only control her demon power essence for a second. Once it exceeded that second, she would be attacked, and she would need to wait for a couple of seconds before she could continue using it. Plus, at her peak, she could only use it 3 times at most. Of course, with the help of her demon power essence, Morong Chingchen was confident that even Yan Fingfing's speed would not be as fast as hers.
Shoo.
Like a twisting black lightning, Morong Chingchen's body twisted in the air and shot out toward the left side of the tunnel. The turning point even left behind a vivid image.
Boom.
Inside the room, a huge golden light exploded, as if a golden sun had appeared out of nowhere. Xia Hozuan's speed had been pushed to its peak as he jumped out of the room. At the same time, he reached out his right index finger and pointed at the wall on the other side of the door.
Boom. Boom.
The wall had been pierced through, leaving only a thin layer. Point at the heavens, draw the earth. Forming a circle of space pattern around his body, Xia Hozuan roared as he crashed through the wall, arriving on the other side. Not good. Morong Chingchen turned in a circle. She had just passed by this place when she felt a strong wind blowing behind her. Rocks were flying everywhere as Xia Hozuan's body turned real. Speed up. Morong Chingchen pushed her demon power essence again, increasing her speed by 5 to 6 times. With this kind of speed, even Yan Fengfeng would not be able to compete with her. The only unfortunate thing was that the place was not big enough, so her speed could not be maximized. Once she reached the corner, she would have to turn, which would decrease her speed and waste time. Breaking through the wall would be even worse, since it would give Xia Hozuan time to catch up with her, and he would be able to break through the wall. Plus, it was already her second time using her demon power essence. But even so, Morong Chingchen had still managed to throw Xia Hozuan thousands of meters away, and it was only because of a terrain. If it were in the sky without any obstacles, she would be able to throw Xia Hozuan 60 to 70 miles away. Even that half-step king warrior could not do anything to her speed.
Ha.
In this tunnel, the faster you are, the more limited you will be. It would be impossible for you to move at high speed for a long time. Let me see how many times you can use your power. Xia Hozuan could no longer sense Morong Chingchen's existence, but he was not in a hurry. As he flew, he shot out his soul power. At the same time, there were a lot of puppet snakes moving around in the corners of the tunnel, watching over the surroundings. Found it. Xia Hozuan had found Morong Chingchen through one of the puppet snakes.
Boom.
Morong Chingchen had also found the puppet snake, shattering it with one finger attack. However, she had not flown far before she found another one. So many puppet snakes. Morong Chingchen did not look too good. Crack. A wall had been broken down, and Xia Hozuan had taken a shortcut, shortening the distance by a couple of times. In this maze-like tunnel, The shortcut would allow him to catch up with Morong Qingqing faster, even if her speed was faster than his. It was the advantage of having a high attacking power. He could tell that she could not use that kind of power for a long time, otherwise he would not be able to catch up. The demon power essence had already disappeared, and Morong Qingqing was moving with her own speed. In terms of personal speed, she was still a bit faster than Xia Hozun, but he did not want to compete with her. As more and more walls had been broken down, the distance between the two had gotten a lot closer. There's only one more usage left. Morong Qingqing's pretty eyebrows frowned a little. Suddenly, she thought of something, so she took out a jade tag from her storage ring and poured her demon power into it. It seems like Bai Minghui is not ready for a battle with me yet. He chose to run away right after seeing me. Is he afraid that I will kill him? Yichen found it a bit funny. Just before, he had seen Bai Minghui in the tunnel. It was obvious that he was a bit scared of Yichen, afraid that Yichen might try to kill him. After all, when he and Yichen battled, there were a lot of people there. And inside the palace, no one would know if he was killed. Moving at a moderate speed, Yichen released his soul power. Within 500 meters, not even the slightest movement could escape from his perception. Ah! Yichen's expression changed as he took out a jade tag from his storage ring. An arrow lit up on it, and the direction of the arrow was moving slightly. It is Morong. Yichen could not help but increase his speed as he moved toward the direction of the arrow. He thought to himself, this jade tag is a one-time use item. She would not use it unless it was a critical moment. Could it be that there is some kind of danger? No, she is moving at high speed. Is someone chasing her? Thinking about the problem, 5 beams of sword light appeared outside of Yichen's body. The sword light carried Yichen's body as he traveled through the tunnel at an extreme speed. Because of his powerful soul power, Yichen could always change his direction at every turn. If there were someone who had the same speed as Yichen in this maze, they would definitely be left behind by Yichen for miles. Shoo! The sword light kept flashing in the tunnel. Yichen's ability to change his direction was so good that it could numb people's scalps. He knew exactly when to slow down and when to speed up. You cannot get away. Xia Hozun's voice came out of a puppet snake's mouth. Morong Qingqing sneered as she shattered the puppet snake with a finger power. She had shattered at least dozens of them, and she wondered where her opponent had gotten so many of them.
Boom.
The wall not far behind her had been broken through. Xia Hozun, who was in his gold robes, looked extremely powerful. That rich and aggressive aura spread out everywhere. Even if you can run for a while, can you run for your whole life? There is no exit in this maze. Only when the palace disappears will you be teleported out. Xia Hozun had finally sensed Morong Qingqing's figure. There were 2 walls between the two, and one of them was right in front of him. Void-shattering finger. That massive golden finger had broken through 1/3 of the wall. Xia Hozun threw out both of his fingers, and 2 comet finger powers landed on the same spot. The next second, he appeared on the other side of the wall with a cloud of dust. Perhaps I have to use my demon power essence for the last time? Morong Qingqing looked hesitant.
No.
Even if I use my demon power essence, I will not be able to get away from her. It would just be a waste. I might as well use it to fight back. After making up her mind, Morong Qingqing stopped moving. Her body floated in the tunnel as the massive black bat wings on her back were extended to their limit. I am not moving anymore. Xia Hozun had a bad feeling about this, so he secretly performed his finger drawing art, shielding his body under the space pattern. Then, he threw out 4 comet finger powers in a row, breaking through the wall. The second the wall was broken, that horrifying black light poured out. Sky Demon Finger. This time, it was not a normal Sky Demon Finger, but one that contained the demon power essence. A fist-sized black light ball shot out, going through the hole in the wall and landing right in front of Xia Hozun. That intense demon power vibration made Xia Hozun's pupils shrink to their limit. You are looking for death. Xia Hozun roared as he reached out his left index finger, pointing out his void-shattering finger. At the same time, his body backed out quickly, while a top-rank shield appeared in front of him.
Boom.
The massive black light ball exploded, and inside the light ball, the gold light spread out. The walls and tunnels around them started to crack under that shock wave. Some of the cracks were half a meter deep, and if it were any deeper, the walls would have cracked completely. In the center of the explosion, there was a 10 meters wide and 1 meter deep hole. It should be known that this was a maze tunnel, and the walls and ground were extremely hard. It would already be impressive if a normal attack could leave a crack on it. Only people at the level of Yi Chen or the top 5 young warriors would be able to do it.
Pooh.
The top-rank shield in his hand was twisted out of shape as Xia Hozuan puked out a huge chunk of blood. His whole body landed on the wall not far away from him, causing the wall to shake and dust to fly everywhere. "You are looking for death." Xia Hozuan was shocked and angry at the same time. It was the first time that he had seen someone who could twist his top-rank shield and break through his finger-drawing art, and it was still under the condition of the void-shattering finger art. Seeing Morong Qingcheng puking out a couple of mouthfuls of blood and looking pale, Xia Hozuan knew that she had already reached her limit. The possibility of her using that kind of power was very slim.
Shoo.
The gold light flashed once, and Yi Chen appeared in the tunnel where Morong Qingcheng was. "I only wanted to take back that pair of gloves before, but now I do not think that way anymore." An evil look flashed past Xia Hozuan's face. His opponent had wounded him, which was something that could not be tolerated. God only knew how long it had been since he had been wounded by Wuxue.
Boom. Boom.
Right at that moment, the wall next to the two suddenly shook twice, and cracks appeared all over the place. A crazy sword intent ignored the wall's isolation and seeped in, filling the air with killing intent.
Boom.
Another vibration occurred, and the cracks on the wall looked like huge mouths, twisting and spreading out. Chapter 638. Yi Chen. Letting out his soul power, Xia Hozuan could sense that it was indeed Yi Chen who had broken the wall. Sensing his killing intent, Xia Hozuan was even angrier than before. According to the rumors in the martial world, Yi Chen was the martial genius who had the highest chance of making it to the top. Once he made it to the top, one of the top 5 young warriors would have to step down. It was an unwritten rule which was based on the ancient times. Once there was a top young warrior in the Central Sky Martial region, the other 4 regions would each have a top young warrior, making it exactly 5. Since then, it had been passed down from generation to generation. In his eyes, there was no chance for Yi Chen to make it to the top, at least not before the top 5 young warriors were over 40 years old. Right now, Yi Chen dared to show killing intent toward him, which meant that he was looking down on him. It was not something that could be tolerated.
Boom.
Rocks flew everywhere, and a huge crack appeared on the hard wall. It was like the mouth of a demon, connecting to hell. The sword chi shot out, and a human figure materialized, appearing right in front of Morong Qingcheng. The second Yi Chen appeared, Morong Qingcheng's body went soft. Her black bat wings shrunk and went back into her body before landing on the ground. Reaching out his hand to hold Morong Qingcheng, Yi Chen said with a light voice, "Using your demon power essence again." "Yeah, I was planning to use my sky demon finger to wound him badly. But his void-shattering finger was very fast. It blocked out my sky demon finger power and cancelled out half of its power. The finger power from the sky demon finger was extremely fast. Otherwise, it would not be a martial art that was inherited from the demon's bloodline. But Xia Hozuan's void-shattering finger contained the space profound, which, when trained to the extreme, would be able to ignore the distance between dimensions. Naturally, it would not be slower than the sky demon finger, and might even be faster. If it were not for the void-shattering finger, that finger attack would have definitely made Xia Hozuan's wound even worse. Nodding, Yi Chen looked at Xia Hozuan coldly. "All right, although it is a bit early, I do not mind. Let's have a battle right here. Let's have a showdown?" "You?" Yi Chen being able to break through the wall had indeed surprised Xia Hozuan a lot, but it was not enough for him to think that Yi Chen could be on the same level as him.
What?
"Is it funny? I can guarantee that you won't be able to leave safely today. You'll have to see some blood." Yi Chen's expression was indifferent. "Don't joke around. This is the funniest joke I have ever heard." Xia Hozuan was so angry that he started laughing instead. He looked very arrogant, not taking Yi Chen seriously at all. Soon after, his tone changed, and he said in an awe-inspiring manner, "A joke is a joke, but right now I have indeed been angered by you. I will not beat you to death, but I will break all the bones in your body and see exactly how hard your bones are and whether they are as hard as your mouth. As for how hard it is, you'll know once you try it. The prerequisite is whether you have the strength to do so." Yi Chen held the hilt of the Thunder Disaster Sword, his sword aura ready to be unleashed. "Cut the bullshit. Today I will show you just how big the gap between you and me is."
Shoo.
A gold light flashed once as Xia Hozuan shot out toward Yi Chen. Outside of his body, strings of gold strings appeared, spreading out and cutting into the walls of the tunnel, leaving cracks on them. "The gap is not up to you to decide. I will wake you up." Leaning his body forward, Yi Chen's whole body shot out close to the ground. His right hand held the Thunder Disaster Sword tightly, and a section of the sword was already exposed in the air. Su King Finger. The distance between the two shortened rapidly. When it was less than 20 meters, Xia Hozuan's gold robe danced in the air as he pointed out a finger at Yi Chen's forehead. As he did so, a king-level shadow appeared behind him, which also pointed out a finger attack.
Chin.
Taking out the Thunder Disaster Sword, Yi Chen shook his right hand. The lightning-like sword body shook twice in the air, and a cross-shaped sword light clashed with his opponent's finger power. Shoo! That powerful finger power shattered instantly under Yi Chen's precise cut. Of course, that cross-shaped sword light had used up all of its power as well, so it disappeared instantly. Breaking the power with tricks? But I would like to see how you're going to break it next. His body flew out in a slanted manner. Xia Hozuan flicked out all 10 of his fingers, bringing out countless afterimages. Then, beams of falling star finger power shot out. That bright starlight spread out, dyeing the whole tunnel with a different color. It was so beautiful and dangerous. Bending his knees, Yi Chen jumped backward. Before his feet even touched the ground, his left hand's 5 fingers had also brought out countless afterimages. That light-like lotus heart sword Qi attacked toward his opponent's falling star finger power.
Pooh. Pooh.
The lotus heart sword Qi was shattered one after another. Xia Hozuan's falling star finger power contained the powerful starlight profound after all, which was extremely powerful and fast. However, the lotus heart sword Qi was not a profound martial art after all. Even with the help of the sword intent, it was still not as powerful as the falling star finger power. But it did not matter if one lotus heart sword Qi was not as powerful as one falling star finger power. 2 or 3 of them would be enough to compete with his opponent. Right then, Yi Chen's left hand's 5 fingers had already disappeared. That endless beam of sword Qi shot out, trying to cancel out the falling star finger power. How could he shoot out so much at once? Xia Hozuan could not help but change his expression. His falling star finger power was already fast enough, but his opponent's sword Qi was even faster and more numerous. It seemed like he did not even need to store up his power at all. Not bad. Yi Chen's lotus heart sword Qi indeed did not need to store up its power, since it was already stored in his dantian. That massive green lotus was like a sword Qi factory. Its efficiency was unbelievably high. Before one round of sword Qi had even been shot out, there would already be new lotus heart sword Qi. Comet finger. Changing his finger art, Xia Hozuan performed an even more concentrated and powerful comet finger. That finger power was like a massive comet, with a huge attacking range. Yi Chen and the space around him were all within the attacking range, which was extremely hot. Gold pattern.
Break.
As his feet landed on the ground, Yi Chen pushed his legs and shot out. The Thunder Disaster Sword in his hand sliced across the air, and that beautiful gold pattern spread out, cutting that finger power in half immediately. The gold pattern did not stop there as it continued to spread out towards Xia Hozuan. Even time seemed to have slowed down. How could his power have improved so fast? Xia Hozuan was shocked. He knew about Lan Xiecheng's power, which was nothing to worry about at all. He did not think that Yi Chen would be able to beat him within 10 attacks. Even if he were twice as powerful, it would not make any difference. But he did not expect that Yi Chen's power had not only increased by one time, but by a couple of times. Draw the sky. His finger power was pushed out as Xia Hozuan's index finger drew a circle in front of him. A layer of space pattern blocked out the gold pattern.
Swoosh.
The destructive power of the gold pattern was not normal. The space pattern had just been formed when it was attacked immediately. It was cut in half from the middle, and the crack was smooth and soft as if it had been polished with great care. There was not a single bit of roughness or unevenness. Break. Casually pointing out his finger to shatter the gold pattern that had used up all of its power, Xia Hozuan's expression was extremely dark. All right, you do have some power, but it is too early to be happy. This next attack will kill you within 1 second. Xia Hozuan took a deep breath. The Zhen Yuan inside his body was like a flood that had just been opened. It started to boil, one wave higher than the other. The tip of his right index finger shone with a dim starlight. The starlight was very reserved, and a light halo spread out like a candle flame. Star nuclear finger. Before, when Xia Hozuan and Morong Qingcheng were battling, that star nuclear finger was only a casual attack that he had performed casually. After all, Morong Qingcheng was not Bai Wuxue and would not let him use all of his power easily. But this finger attack of his contained all of his power. The horrifying star nuclear gravity appeared out of nowhere, as if there were countless strings that had wrapped around Yi Chen and pulled him over. Don't you know that I am a sword artist? A sneer flashed past Yi Chen's face as he ignored the star nuclear gravity that was working on his body and Jin Yuan, waving out a sword attack. As Yi Chen waved out that sword attack, part of the Jin Yuan inside his body had been dragged out, forming a blue light ball 3 feet in front of his index finger. However, part of his Jin Yuan had also been forcefully poured into the Thunder Disaster Sword, condensing into sword chi and shooting out. With a swooshing sound, the blue light ball that contained the gravitational force of the star core looked like a leaking balloon, letting out beams of sword chi. How is this possible? My star nuclear finger attack was broken so easily. Yi Chen's performance before was indeed out of Xia Hozuan's expectation, but it was not enough to change his expression. But as soon as his star nuclear finger attack was broken, his expression finally changed. What he did not know was that Yi Chen's sword intent was even more powerful than Liu Xiaoyu, who was one of the top 5 young warriors. Liu Xiaoyu should not be afraid of Xia Hozuan's star nuclear finger attack, so Yi Chen would not need to worry about it at all. The reason why the sword intent could increase one's attacking power was because it could make the sword chi more condensed. If others' sword chi was like metal, then Yi Chen's would be like diamond. Therefore, no matter how powerful the star nuclear gravity was, it would not be able to do anything to such a condensed sword chi. It had been punctured instantly, turning into a leaking balloon. Of course, it was not like the star nuclear gravity did not work at all. At least, when Yi Chen pushed his Jin Yuan, a lot of it had been dragged over, forming a blue light ball. And it was still because of Yi Chen's sword intent protection. Otherwise, that sword attack would be even more powerful, and it would be hard on Xia Hozuan. All in all, Xia Hozuan's star nuclear finger attack could not handle Yi Chen's sword chi at all, and it could not turn the sword chi into pure energy. As the star nuclear gravity was broken, Xia Hozuan backed out quickly, removing part of the sword chi from his body. The expression on his face could not get any uglier. In the distance, Morong Qingcheng saw that Yi Chen and Xia Hozuan were fighting on par with each other, and she could not help but be moved. She had only guessed that Yi Chen's power had grown to an unfathomable level, and she was afraid that he might already have the power of one of the top young warriors. But thinking was just thinking, and seeing it in reality was still quite shocking. She had already prepared herself. Once Yi Chen fell into a slight disadvantage, she would join hands with Yi Chen to wound Xia Hozuan and force him to back out, even if it would worsen her wounds to an irreversible degree. But it was obvious that Yi Chen's power had truly reached a level that people could only look up to.
Shoo.
Xia Hozuan was one of the top 5 young warriors after all. Although Yi Chen was powerful, it was still not enough to make him feel helpless. A cold light flashed through his eyes as Xia Hozuan stomped his foot on the ground. That rich gold light spilled out, approaching Yichun at an extreme speed.
Boom, 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 boom.
The two clashed with each other all of a sudden, turning it into a close combat. Void-shattering finger. Tilting his body, Xia Hozuan suddenly pointed out his finger, which was indeed his most powerful void-shattering finger. Even Bai Wuxue would have to use all of his power to block it. In such a close combat situation, even normal attacks would have to be adjusted to their highest reaction speed. Otherwise, they would not be able to handle it, not to mention the void-shattering finger that contained the profound of space.
Boom.
The gold finger power landed right on Yi Chen's protective Zhenyuan layer. A cold look flashed through Xia Hozuan's face. In the past half a year, his void-shattering finger had improved a lot, and it was already 90% complete. Its destructive power was way more powerful than when he was battling with Bai Wuxue. He did not believe that Yi Chen would be able to handle it. Spiritual sword. Yi Chen did not care about his protective Zhenyuan being hit by the void-shattering finger at all as he waved out a sword attack. That gentle sword wind instantly reached Xia Hozuan. Chapter 639.
Boom.
Shoo. Two completely different sounds exploded as Yi Chen and Xia Hozuan were blown back out at the same time. The powerful blast waves spread out, shattering the entire tunnel and causing dust to spread everywhere. A bit of blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth as Yi Chen was shocked. Even his protective Zhenyuan layer with the amplification of the armor could not block out his opponent's void-shattering finger art. Not only that, the remaining finger power had even gone through the armor and reached his body. After being blocked out by the dragon bone defense layer, it had affected his internal organs, causing him to be slightly wounded. If I did not have the armor, this finger attack would have at least made my wounds a couple of times worse. I might even have been badly wounded. Yi Chen had finally realized how powerful Xia Hozuan's void-shattering finger art was. Even Bai Wuxue had to use all of his power to block it out. On the other hand, Xia Hozuan's wounds were even more severe than Yi Chen's. Yi Chen's sword attack was unbelievably fast. Because of its extreme speed, it had cut open the space pattern and his protective Zhenyuan layer before landing heavily on the top-rank armor. That tiny sword qi had traveled through the armor and wounded his internal organs and meridians. With the accumulation of the sword intent, it had even created invisible sword qi inside his body, cutting through his flesh and internal organs like small knives.
Wow.
Puking out a huge amount of blood, Xia Hozuan looked extremely messed up. He did not have that confidence and calmness that he had before. Although his aggressive aura was still there, it had become a bit crazy after his confidence had been damaged. Staring at Yi Chen with a murderous look, Xia Hozuan's body shook as he growled with a low voice, "Get the fuck out of here." Like a flash flood, a huge amount of gold light shot out of Xia Hozuan's body. One could only hear a continuous sizzling sound as tiny cut marks appeared on the walls of the tunnel. It was caused by the sword qi inside Xia Hozuan's body being blown out by the Zhenyuan.
Who?
There was no way Yi Chen would give Xia Hozuan any chance to breathe, so he waved his long sword, and that gentle sword wind attacked towards Xia Hozuan again. Bastard. Bright sparks shot out of his chest as Xia Hozuan felt like his chest was about to be shattered. Both of his feet left the ground as he was blown away like an arrow. Eventually, he landed heavily on the wall in the corner, leaving a shallow, human-shaped mark on it. Bits of powder started to fall down from the ceiling. Gold ripples. Like a shadow, Yi Chen followed right behind Xia Hozuan. He performed another ace attack, and that beautiful gold pattern spread out like the waves in the lake. It looked slow, but it was actually spreading out at an extremely fast speed. Creak. The sound of his armor twisting was heard as Xia Hozuan started to bleed from all over his body. Even his skin started to drip with blood, dyeing his whole body red. "You forced me to do this." Blood Emperor killing finger. Just like thousands of streams returning to their roots, all of the blood on Xia Hozuan's body quickly gathered at the tip of his index finger. The skin on his fingertip cracked open, and a red light with a destructive aura shot out. The power hidden in that blood had been sucked out completely as well. This finger was an extremely powerful secret art. It would deal 1,000 damage to the enemy and 800 to oneself. Shoo! That red light-like finger power was as fast as a flash of light, attacking right in front of Yi Chun within a second. Break. Performing his spirit sword attack, Yi Chun's sword attack landed on that red finger power.
Ting.
Something shocking happened. That indestructible thunder disaster sword suddenly bent like a fully drawn bow. In the next second, an extremely aggressive power traveled through the sword body and attacked onto Yi Chun's palm, corroding his dragon bone defense layer. Such an aggressive secret art. A stream of blood dripped down from the corner of Yi Chun's mouth like a snake. Shoo! Using that power, Yi Chun bounced back and landed on the ground. He could not help but take a couple of steps back, each step leaving a shallow footprint on the ground. Yi Chun. Morong Qingcheng called out softly. Yi Chun waved his hand. I am fine. After saying that, he stared at Xia Hozuan and thought to himself, it seems like I have still underestimated the top 5 young warriors. Even if they were forced into a desperate situation, they would still have an ace attack that could turn the situation around. Although using blood as a medium might be a bit too expensive, but in a life and death situation, who would care about that? So, the other top 4 young warriors might also have some ace attacks that they would not use easily. He did not wound him badly. Xia Hozuan's skin had dried up quite a bit as he stared at Yi Chun with a shocked expression. This Blood Emperor killing finger attack was a secret art created by the previous Blood Emperor thousands of years ago. Once performed, 1/5 of the blood in the body would be evaporated and the hidden energy would be extracted, forming an indestructible and corrosive finger power. Although 1/5 of the blood was quite shocking, Xia Hozuan had actually only lost 1/10 of it. It was not because he had some trick that could lower the requirement, but because that last sword attack of Yi Chun had shaken out all of the blood in his body. Once the blood left the body, it would not lose its energy for a while, which made it perfect for performing the Blood Emperor killing finger attack. It is that armor. A semi-extreme rank armor. Xia Hozuan's eyes moved around and soon landed on Yi Chun's protective Zhenyuan. A normal protective Zhenyuan would only be a layer of eggshell chi shield, and only a semi-extreme rank armor would be able to leave different patterns on it. Seeing this, he finally understood why Yi Chun's defense was this powerful. With a semi-extreme rank armor, his defense would at least double. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth as he said with a hoarse voice, "So, it is because of that semi-extreme rank armor. Without it, you would not be able to last until now." Yi Chun shook his head helplessly. To be honest, as one of the top 5 young warriors, you indeed have the power, but your character is not good at all. After losing, you would always find excuses. If you are such a sore loser, then don't walk out of the door. If you think that relying on your weapon is not an honorable win, then you can just take off that top-rank armor on your body and throw away those gloves on your hands. It would be best if you do not use your secret arts, because the others might not have them. Relying on them would not be an honorable win either. Xia Hozuan, do you dare to do that? You. Xia Hozuan was speechless as his face turned blue. What a sharp tongue. But I, Xia Hozuan, have not lost yet. Let's see who can last longer. The wounds on his body had gotten worse. Xia Hozuan had lost almost 70% of his battling power, and that last Blood Emperor killing finger attack had made his wounds even worse. His skin had dried up, and if it were not for the fact that Sea of Souls realm warriors had extremely strong vitality, he might not even have the power to stand up.
Who?
Taking out a golden pellet from his storage ring, Xia Hozuan swallowed it without hesitation.
Ah.
His qi is increasing. Yi Chun frowned as he sensed that Xia Hozuan's qi was increasing at an unimaginable speed. Soon it had reached its peak, and had even surpassed it. He was even more powerful than before, and even more aggressive as if he was possessed by a god. Could it be a semi-extreme rank pellet? Yi Chun guessed as he held the handle of his Thunder Disaster sword tightly. That light wound had already been healed by his undying body, and it would not affect his battling power at all.
Boom.
That aggressive chi spread out, and the space outside of Xia Hozuan's body twisted slightly, turning into a golden color. He lifted up his eyes and looked at Yi Chen arrogantly. You have the semi-extreme rank armor, and I have the Blood Emperor Battle Spirit Pellet. The victory will belong to me, Xia Hozuan. The Blood Emperor Battle Spirit Pellet was not the semi-extreme rank pellet that Yi Chen had guessed. Instead, it was an extreme rank pellet that had lost part of its medicinal effect. Its value would not be lower than a semi-extreme rank armor. In terms of short-term effects, it would be even more powerful than a semi-extreme rank armor, since the pellet was a consumable item. Shoo!
Shoo! Shoo!
A red chi flow appeared on the surface of Xia Hozuan's body. The chi flow condensed together, eventually forming a blood-colored energy armor that covered his entire body. On top of the armor, golden strings spread out, covering his whole body, making him look like a killing machine.
Boom!
Stepping on the wall behind him, Xia Hozuan turned into a beam of blood-colored lightning, shooting right at Yi Chen as he threw out a finger attack. Yi Chen lifted up his Thunder Disaster Sword and started to battle with Xia Hozuan. What a great pellet! Not only did it double his defense, but it also healed all of his wounds, increasing his battling power. Yi Chen was shocked. He had started to wonder if the pellet was a semi-extreme rank pellet. The legendary semi-extreme rank pellets should not have such powerful effects, being able to heal serious internal wounds in a short period of time and increase one's defense. The two continued to battle in the tunnel, fighting in close combat. Xia Hozuan's void-shattering finger R was unstoppable in close combat since it was way too fast. On the other hand, Yi Chen's spiritual sword was not weaker than Xia Hozuan's void-shattering finger R either. It was also fast, causing the two to be hit by each other from time to time. At this point in the battle, the two did not have any other thoughts except to beat each other completely. If there was a chance, they would kill each other. I would like to see how long you can last. With the protection of the blood-colored energy armor, Xia Hozuan only attacked without defending. He did not even need to use his ace attacks like Finger the Sky or Draw. Instead, he kept performing his Star Nuclear Finger and Void Shattering Finger, as well as his Falling Star Finger and Comet Finger, trying to burn out all of Yi Chen's Jinyuan. Don't worry, it will not be me. The sword chi was blocked out by the blood-colored energy armor. Besides the initial shock, Yi Chen gradually calmed down. Each of his sword attacks landed on the same spot, trying to break through the surface. He did not believe that this blood-colored energy armor would be able to last forever.
Pooh!
Puking out a mouthful of blood, Yi Chen did not seem to have heard it as he continued to battle with Xia Hozuan. With his undying body, he did not have to worry about it at all. Gradually, Xia Hozuan realized that something was wrong. Although he had only managed to wound Yi Chen a little bit each time, it would eventually turn into a serious injury. But looking at Yi Chen's battling condition, it was obvious that he was not affected at all. Instead, he seemed to be getting more and more powerful as the battle went on. Although he had the blood-colored energy armor, which could block out most of the power, he would still be shaken to death if it went on like this. The Blood Emperor Battle Spirit Pellet could only heal him completely, and the blood that he had lost would not be replenished immediately. It would take some time. Blood Emperor Killing Finger. Xia Hozuan looked extremely evil as he used up a quarter of his blood and pointed at Yi Chen's forehead. Thunder Devour. The two swords crossed as Yi Chen threw out a thunderball. It was slowly turning silver, which was a sign of his thunder profound improving. Chapter 640. Different elemental martial arts had a natural counter to each other. The Blood Emperor Killing Finger attack was a method to activate the blood energy, which represented the blood element itself. The blood element was related to the water element and would always be countered by the fire or thunder element. Therefore, although the power of the Thunder Devour was not as powerful as the gold pattern and the spiritual sword, since it was a thunder element, its effect might be even more powerful.
Boom!
A loud explosion was heard as a circle of white smoke spread out in all directions, hitting onto the walls and making a sizzling sound like boiling water being poured onto the ground. It was obviously a gas similar to water vapor. In the center of the explosion, the blood-colored finger power was unstoppable. Although the silver thunderball had evaporated a part of the finger power, it had still been destroyed within one attack. The gap seems to be a bit too big. Even if the thunder element could counter the blood element, if the gap is too big, it would still be shattered. Yi-Chen was not surprised by this result, since he did not expect the Thunder Devourer to be able to block out the Blood Emperor killing finger attack. If it did, then it would be a surprise, since this kind of secret art that consumed blood was not just a normal kind of power. Even mid-rank profound sense martial arts would not be able to compete with it. Therefore, his goal was only to cancel out the power of the Blood Emperor killing finger attack. With the Thunder Devourer, the following finger power would not be able to break through his defense. Just as he expected, the dimmed blood-colored finger power had broken through the thunderball and landed heavily on the protective Zhenyuan layer. Once it had broken through, the color of the finger power dimmed even more. Eventually, it landed on the armor itself, but it did not have much power left, so it was easily cancelled out.
No.
I cannot perform the Blood Emperor killing finger attack anymore. Xia Hozuan's face was extremely pale. Performing the Blood Emperor killing finger attack twice had used up 2/5 of his blood. Even if he was a Sea of Souls realm warrior, losing 2/5 of his blood would still not be a good thing. His body had never been this tired before, and his mind was a bit blurry as well. It was a sign that he had lost a lot of chi and blood. If it were not for the Blood Emperor Battle Spirit pellet, he would not be able to fight anymore. Void Shattering Finger. Completely giving up on defense, Xia Hozuan threw out another Void Shattering Finger attack while fighting against Yi-Chen. It landed on Yi-Chen's protective Zhenyuan layer. Gold Patterns. Yi-Chen had also given up on defense. The gold pattern spread out along the tip of his sword, attacking that blood-colored energy armor continuously.
Puff. Creak.
Yi-Chen spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood energy armor on Xia Hozuan's body started to twist and crack. Spiritual Sword, Triple Slash. Right then, Yi-Chen took a step forward. The Thunder Disaster sword in his hand swept across, sliced out, and stabbed out. 3 sword attacks landed on the injured spot of the blood energy armor. Although these 3 sword attacks were not as fast as the pure spirit sword attack, they were not that much slower. Xia Hozuan did not have the time to react at all, so he had to take on the combined power of the 3 sword attacks.
Ka.
Finally, a crack appeared on the blood energy armor, and that tiny sword chi poured in through the crack, damaging Xia Hozuan's body. Go. Xia Hozuan's scalp went numb. Every time, Yi-Chen's wounds were obviously more serious than his, but he seemed to be fine. Although he did not know what kind of tricks he had up his sleeves, he did not want to continue like this, since the power of the pellet was limited. Once it ran out, he would not be able to leave even if he wanted to. With the power of that attack, Xia Hozuan's body twisted in the air, turning into a beam of blood-colored light and shooting out. He said, "Yi-Chen, the next time we meet, I will make you pay back twice as much." Being defeated by Yi-Chen was a shame that he would never be able to wash away. Right then, the wounds on his body were no longer important, as his mind was being tortured. He could not imagine what kind of embarrassing situation it would be when people found out that he had been defeated by Yi-Chen. He could already see countless people laughing at him, mocking him, thinking that he did not deserve to be one of the top 5 young warriors. Yi-Chen. Biting his lips, Xia Hozuan's face was full of hatred. That extreme unwillingness made Xia Hozuan run even faster. He knew that as long as there was life, there would always be hope. So fast. 5 beams of sword light appeared outside of his body as Yi-Chen followed right behind Xia Hozuan. It was not that he had not thought about asking the Dream-Eating Wolf to come out and help him, but after thinking about it, he decided not to. In a one-on-one battle of martial geniuses, he did not want to use the Dream-Eating Wolf to beat his opponent, since it would be pointless. Plus, the Dream-Eating Wolf's power to create dreams was not limitless. It would be fine for people like Lin Tian, but for martial geniuses like Bai Minghui and Duge Ju, it would be a bit more difficult. And for the top 5 young warriors, the effect would be almost negligible.
Shoo.
A void-shattering finger power shot out from the sky, and Yi-Chen waved his sword to block it out. His body was blown backward, increasing the distance between him and Xia Hozuan. Without continuing to chase, Yichen put his sword back into its scabbard. There should only be one Blood Emperor Battle Spirit pellet. This time, he has used up one of his ace attacks, so it should be enough. But this pellet is indeed powerful. It has not only completely healed Xia Hozuan's wounds, but it has also formed an indestructible blood energy armor outside of his body. Yichen could not be clearer about the power of the Spirit Sword. Using the Spirit Sword as the base, the 3 consecutive attacks could only leave a crack on the blood energy armor. It was not hard to imagine how powerful this armor's defense was. It was definitely more powerful than a semi-extreme rank defensive item. Looking at where Xia Hozuan had disappeared, Yichen went back the way he came. Thousands of meters away in the maze tunnel, Xia Hozuan stopped his body with a pale face. Phew. Phew.
Damn.
I have lost to him. Xia Hozuan still could not believe that he had lost to Yichen. It was the biggest blow to him. No, there are still 7 months until the next master-level warrior ranking. During this period of time, I have to try my best to increase my power. Otherwise, what Xia Hozuan wanted to say was that he might not be able to keep his status as one of the top 5 young warriors. Once his status was taken away, he would definitely become the laughingstock of the world, and he would become a stepping stone for Yichen. He would not allow that to happen. 7 months, it is enough. Xia Hozuan was desperate to increase his power. Before, his status as one of the top 5 young warriors had made him relax a little. Right now, it was too late for regrets. Within these 7 months, he had to get a semi-extreme rank defensive item, since he only had 1 Blood Emperor pellet. Besides that, he would have to increase his profound sense martial arts to the next level as well, especially his void-shattering finger art. Chapter 641. The 90% completed void-shattering finger art and the completed void-shattering finger art are worlds apart. The power would be at least twice as powerful. As long as I can train this void-shattering finger art to completion, even by Wuxue, and the rest would lose to me. It is just a mere Yichen. With that thought in mind, Xia Hozuan felt a lot more relaxed. Before, he had lost his cool because he had not expected to lose to Yichen. Therefore, he could not wait to beat Yichen, making Yichen his number 1 enemy. But now, he felt that it was a bit funny. Yichen indeed needed to be beaten, but his number 1 enemy was still not him, but by Wuxue and the rest. Returning to Morong Qingqing's side, Yichen said regretfully, "He got away. As long as we are fine." Morong Qingqing's face was very pale, looking like a fragile piece of porcelain. Seeing Yichen, she let out a breath. Xia Hozuan was way too powerful, and he had so many ace attacks. Although Yichen could beat him, but if he was pushed into a corner, perhaps he would die together with Yichen. "How are you now?" Yichen grabbed Morong Qingqing's hand. Her hand was so soft and smooth that it looked like there were no bones in it. It was just that before, it always had some warmth, but now it felt cold. Pushing his soul power in, Yichen realized that Morong Qingqing's meridians were messed up, and some of them were even broken. Morong Qingqing took out one of her hands and used a handkerchief to wipe away the blood on the corner of Yichen's mouth. "You do not need to worry about me. Although the demon power essence is very powerful, it comes from the same source as my demon power after all. It will not cause any irreversible internal injuries, and I should be able to recover after some time. You, on the other hand, have been hit by Xia Hozuan's void-shattering finger art so many times." Yichen laughed. "I forgot to tell you, but I have already trained the undying body. So, this kind of injury will be healed soon." Undying body? Morong Qingqing was flabbergasted. She knew that Yichen had obtained the undying body secret art, but she didn't expect that Yichen had already successfully cultivated it. It should be known that the undying body secret art was a domain that only life and death kings could touch upon. One could easily imagine how difficult it was to cultivate, second only to life and death realm. Being able to cultivate the undying body in advance will certainly be helpful in entering life and death realm. Have you made any progress? Some time ago, Yi Chun had already handed over the undying body secret art to Morong Qingqing, hoping that she could cultivate the undying body in advance, just like him. In that case, she would be much safer in a duel, and it might even help her in attacking life and death realm in the future. Morong Qingqing shook her head. Perhaps it's because I'm not suited for this undying body secret art. Demon race and human race are not the same race after all. So the method of cultivating the undying body should be different as well. That's true. Yi Chun felt that it was a pity. Morong Qingqing could sense Yi Chun's care, so she tightened her grip on his hand and leaned her head on his shoulder. The combination of the two seemed to be a bit sudden, but only they knew that it was a natural result. It was as if there was a red string that had brought them together. Inside the tunnel, the blue flame line flashed at a high speed. Once it realized that there was someone in front of it, the blue flame line suddenly dropped down and condensed into a human figure. It was Yan Fengfeng. You too. Yan Fengfeng revealed a faint smile. Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing separated from each other, but their hands were still holding each other's. Sister Yan, did you get any treasures? Yan Fengfeng shrugged. Treasures are not that easy to get. But I did not have much hope, since I had already gotten a semi-extreme rank armor out there. You two, on the other hand, are quite comfortable hiding here and kissing each other? Did I disturb you? Yi Chun said helplessly. We are not that free. We had just beaten away Xia Hozuan, and Morong was wounded badly as well. Beat away Xia Hozuan? It was only then that Yan Fengfeng realized that the tunnel looked like it had been hit by a meteor. There were holes everywhere, and Morong Qingqing's face was extremely pale as well. It was indeed the aftermath of a huge battle. She was shocked at Yi Chun's battling power. She knew quite a bit about his power. Although she had not suffered much inside the valley, but Yi Chun had not used all of his power either. If he had used all of his power, she would not have been able to escape in one piece. But since Yi Chun was able to beat away Xia Hozuan, he had obviously wounded him a little. Otherwise, with his prideful attitude, he would not have been able to leave in such a bad shape. The palace will only exist for 3 days. Then, I will not disturb you anymore. Inside the maze tunnel, it would not be a good thing to have too many people. If they ran into a great weapon, they would not be able to handle it since there would not be 3 of them. Being able to get one would already be very lucky. All right, you be careful. Yi Chun nodded. After separating from Yan Fengfeng, Yi Chun did not rush to look for treasures. In fact, after getting the armor, he had nothing else to ask for. 3 days passed quickly, and everyone was transported out of the palace. Soon, the massive palace disappeared from everyone's sight. From everyone's regretful expression, it was easy to tell that most of them had come out empty-handed. Only a small portion of them had gotten some weapons. As for whether they were demi-extreme rank weapons or not, it would be hard to tell. After all, no one would purposely reveal that they had gotten a demi-extreme rank weapon just to show off. After all, it would be like telling everyone that they were a piece of fat meat. Huh? Xia Hozuan glanced at Yi Chun with a cold look before turning into a beam of gold light and shooting into the distance, which confused everyone else. Among the top 5 young warriors, Bai Wuxue and Lu Xiaoyu seemed to be thinking about something. They had glanced at Xia Hozuan just then, and although he was not wounded, his qi had weakened a lot, which was very unusual. What was even more unusual was that Xia Hozuan seemed to be very hostile toward Yi Chun. Taking back his sight, Bai Wuxue said with a light voice, "Our position as the top 5 young warriors is starting to get unstable.
I have a very strong feeling about this."
Lu Xiaoyu touched his sword handle and said coldly, "The position is given by oneself, and no one can take it away from you. Since when did you, Bai Wuxue, start to say such depressing things?" Hee. Bai Wuxue chuckled, but did not say anything. On the other side, Yi Chun did not care about Xia Hozuan's sneer before he left. For him, this kind of hostility was meaningless. What he wanted to do was to beat him every time he came, to make him give up completely. Although it was cruel, there was no other way. If he did not want to lose, then he would have to make him lose. Let's go. Yi Chun said goodbye to Yan Fengfeng before flying toward the east with Morong Qingqing. In the next half a month, Besides Xiaohozuan, who had left the 4th level world first, the rest of them were all trying their best to find weapons. This kind of opportunity did not come often, and it would only happen once a year. If they wanted to use it once, they would have to wait for 4 years.
Boom, 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 boom.
Inside the massive basin, Yichen was battling with a treasure chi life form. It was only 1 meter and 70 centimeters tall, and its body was like a perfect diamond, without a single flaw. As it moved, that rich treasure chi turned into a sky-tearing light column, attacking toward Yichen. Thunder Devour. Yichen waved his hand, and a silver lightning appeared on his Thunder Disaster Sword. It was bound together and did not spread out, instead seeming to form into a ball shape. After battling with Xiaohozuan, Yichen had a vague understanding of the Thunder Profound, and he started to use one sword to perform the Thunder Devour. But obviously, one sword would not be as good as 2 swords, which could easily perform the Thunder Devour, but one sword would have a hard time. Within 10 times, he had only managed to form half a Thunderball once. But what surprised Yichen was that even though he had only formed half a Thunderball, its power was already equivalent to the Thunder Devour performed with 2 swords. It was not hard to imagine that once he performed the perfect Thunder Devour with 1 sword, its power would be way beyond that of 2 swords. With a height of 1 meter and 70 centimeters, the treasure chi life form was very powerful. It might not be any weaker than Xiaohozuan, who had used all of his ace attacks. It would be perfect for training. Of course, only Yichen would dare to use this life form as a training target. If it were anyone else, even the top 5 young warriors, they would not dare to do so, because they did not have an immortal body. After a long battle, they would eventually get wounded, and the wounds would accumulate into serious wounds. If the serious wounds accumulated, then death would be the only outcome for them. On the other hand, the treasure chi life form would not die unless it was mortally wounded, since it could train all of the natural chi in the world to repair itself. On the other side, Murong Qingqing sat on a huge rock with her legs crossed. She was adjusting her breathing while watching Yichen train. She was not surprised at all that he was doing. She only smiled gently because she knew that her boyfriend was very powerful. His potential seemed to be endless. He was obviously a human, but he was like a monster. In the near future, he might become the Sword King or the #1 Sword Emperor. Perhaps the Sword Emperor was not even his ultimate goal. As for her before, she did not have much ambition. But after spending some time with Yichen, she understood that it would be impossible to have no ambition. It would not be long before Yichen would leave her far behind and reach another level. Therefore, if she wanted to be with him, she would have to follow his footsteps and grow stronger together.
Boom.
The ground shook. Yichen threw out a sword attack toward that life form that was still trying to move. This sword attack had formed into half a silver thunderball, which landed heavily on the life form's chest. It was like a crazy thunder attack had hit its body. The treasure chi outside of the life form's body started to shatter, and its body started to dim. Triple chops. With the spiritual sword as the lead, Yichen's 3 sword attacks landed on the life form's head. Swoosh. A head flew into the air. Huff. Breathing heavily, Yichen thought to himself, unfortunately, there is no Yuan Qi in this place. If I continue to fight, my Jin Yuan will be completely used up. I can only shatter it. Otherwise, my Thunder Devour should be able to reach the next level. Using one sword to perform the Thunder Devour, Yichen could already form half a Thunderball. Compared to the beginning, he had improved a lot. In a flash, half a month had passed, and the 4th floor was about to close. Whether it was the 4th floor, the 3rd floor, or the 2nd floor, all of the young geniuses went down to the next floor. If they did not leave, they would be locked in there for 11 months, and it would only open next year. Only the 1st floor was open all year round, so there was no need to worry about time. Outside the tower, a large number of people poured out. Haha, this trip was not in vain. I got 2 top-rank weapons. It seems like this year is my lucky year. My luck is not bad either. I got a top-rank long whip. Whip weapons were very rare. Although top-rank long whips were not as powerful as demi-extreme rank weapons, their rarity was not that low, since whips were special weapons after all. You guys are lucky this time. In the third floor, someone got a whole set of top-rank weapons.
What?
A whole set of top-rank weapons? That is even more precious than normal demi-extreme rank weapons. It can increase both defense and attack. Why would we lie to you? It is her. One of them pointed at Jing Aoshuan. Should we rob it? Some of them looked unfriendly. I suggest you guys give up on that idea. She seems to know Yi Chen. Just as they were about to make their move, Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng came out. The two flew toward Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan. Seeing this, one of them reminded everyone. Cold sweat poured out of them as they secretly felt lucky. Chapter 642. Yi Chen, Murong Qingcheng. Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyan had sensed Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng approaching, so they turned around at the same time. Yi Chen laughed. You guys have also come to the Treasure Holy Tower? Li Xiaoyan said, once a year. How could we not come? Unfortunately, we did not gain much, and only got a normal top-rank weapon. In fact, most of the young geniuses who entered the Holy Treasure Tower had some harvest, but there were also many young geniuses who died inside. Some died naturally, some were killed by other young geniuses, and their treasures would naturally be left inside the Holy Treasure Tower. After being nourished by the treasure chi, some of the high-grade treasures might even become top high-grade treasures, continuously replenishing the Holy Treasure Tower. This was also why the number of treasures inside the Holy Treasure Tower had never decreased, maintaining a balance. You and Murong Qingcheng must have gained quite a lot, right? Li Xiaoyan said. Yi Chen said, our luck was not bad. We both got a semi-extreme rank weapon. Whether it was inside or outside, Yi Chen did not need to hide his gains. Only those who were not powerful enough would do so. Just like how he had sensed earlier, there were a couple of people who had bad intentions towards Jing Aoshuan. They thought that Jing Aoshuan did not have enough power and that they could rob Jing Aoshuan's gains. TSK, you guys are just as lucky as Jing Aoshuan. She also got a whole set of top-rank weapons. Li Xiaoyan forced a smile as he shook his head. Oh, congratulations then. Yi Chen knew that with a whole set of top-rank weapons, Jing Aoshuan's power would increase by at least one level. Even among the master-level warriors, she would be one of the powerful ones, and would be able to catch up with Lin Ku and Hai Wuya. Jing Aoshuan said, only with strength can you protect your own things. As she spoke, she glanced at the group of people who had just left and said, thank you. She knew that Yi Chen had purposely come to find them to warn those who harbored ill intentions. Without Yi Chen's deterrence, they were likely to be ambushed along the way. Murong Qingcheng said, we are also going back to the southern sector. Why don't you come with us? She had been wounded quite badly and would need a long time to recover. Plus, she felt that it was not just that group of people who had their eyes on Jing Aoshuan. A couple of unfamiliar top young warriors had their eyes on Jing Aoshuan as well. It should be known that a whole set of top-rank items was worth more than a normal semi-extreme rank item. It was impossible for it not to attract people's attention. All right then. Jing Aoshuan nodded. She knew that now was not the time to show off. Only when she returned to the Thunder Territory's Thunder Capital would she truly be safe. Ice Pavilion. Mysterious Ice Cliff. A human shadow was walking towards the entrance of the cave on top of the cliff. It was a man with green hair, wearing a green leather armor. He looked very handsome and determined. It was indeed Duan Lingya from the Ice Spirit Martial School, who had lost an arm to Yi Chen before. Right then, both of Duan Lingya's arms were perfectly fine, as if they had been reattached by someone with a secret art. However, judging from the frequency of his right arm swinging, it was obviously a bit uncoordinated. Soon, Duan Lingya arrived at the entrance of the cave. Second uncle, Duan Lingya said with a loud voice. Come in. A cold voice came from inside the cave. Hearing him, Duan Lingya walked into the cave. It was very spacious, and the environment inside was very simple. The The walls and the ground were covered with thick ice layers. There was an ice platform in the middle of the cave, where a middle-aged man with white hair was sitting with his legs crossed, looking very cold. "What is it?" The middle-aged man opened his eyes, a gentle look flashing through his face. Duan Lingyan kneeled on the ground suddenly. "Second uncle, please help me. I cannot take it anymore." "What is going on?"
Just say it.
The middle-aged man was shocked. He flashed his body and held Duan Lingya up. He was Duan Lingya's biological second uncle, named Duan Binghe. Duan Lingya's father was Duan Binghe's big brother, but he had died a long time ago. Duan Binghe, who did not have any children, had been taking good care of Duan Lingya, treating him like his own son. Duan Lingya reached out his right arm. "Second uncle, look." Duan Binghe looked at Duan Lingya's right arm and realized that there were a lot of blocked meridians in his right arm. It was soft, and the qi and blood were not coordinated. At the base of the right arm, there was a light blood-colored mark that caught Duan Binghe's attention. If he was not wrong, Duan Lingya's right arm had been cut off before. Although it had been reattached, without some rare and precious medicines, this right arm would be useless. It could only be used for some simple physical work, and definitely not for battling. "Who cut off your right arm?" Duan Binghe yelled angrily. He had been in closed-door training all year round. Normally, no one would come and disturb him unless something happened. This closed-door training had lasted for about 1 to 2 years. Duan Lingya said, "It was Yi Chun." Duan Lingya told Duan Binghe all the information about Yi Chun. "Huh, such a vicious brat. It was just a training session and he cut off one of your arms. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Duan Binghe was very dissatisfied. Duan Lingya was his nephew. If he had known about this, he would have cut off one of Yi Chen's arms for an eye for an eye. Duan Lingya forced a smile and told him about the Ice Pavilion hiring assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion. In the beginning, Duan Lingya also thought that the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion would definitely be able to kill Yi Chen and capture Morong Qingcheng. However, after all the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion had been wiped out, he knew that no assassins in the whole continent could kill Yi Chen anymore. After all, the assassins from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion only had one chance to kill their target, and they couldn't keep on doing it. Apart from the Ghost Shadow Pavilion, it was almost impossible to find an assassin who could kill Yi Chen. From the assassins who had set up the barriers, he knew that Yi Chen and Morong Qingcheng were not afraid of assassination. If they wanted to kill him, it would be better to fight openly, which would increase their chances. After that, it was not that the Ice Pavilion had not thought of other ways, but Yi Chen had improved too fast. Every time they thought of a plan, they would get the news that Yi Chen's power had increased drastically, which made the original plan completely useless. As time went on, the Ice Pavilion had given up on killing Yi Chen, since they did not have any half-step king warriors, and they did not have any master-level warriors who were very close to it. If they wanted to kill Yi Chen, they could not just go out and kill him, which would not only break the rules, but also make the Ice Pavilion infamous. As for Life and Death Realm warriors, it would be even more impossible. If people below the Life and Death Realm had not offended them, then Life and Death Realm warriors would not be able to kill them easily. Plus, Yi Chen had a powerful background. If they dared to touch a Life and Death Realm warrior, then the Dragon King would have a reason to attack the Ice Pavilion when he came out. Then, it would still be the Ice Pavilion that would suffer. Plus, Xianhou also thought highly of Yi Chen, which could be seen from the relationship between Yan Fengfeng and Yi Chen. Therefore, the leader of the Ice Pavilion would not be willing to deal with Yi Chen. One Duan Lingya would not be worth it for him to do so, since the Ice Pavilion was a rank 5 martial institution. There were a lot of young martial geniuses, and there were even 1 or 2 young martial geniuses who were only slightly weaker than Duan Lingya. Losing one Duan Lingya would not be a big deal for the Ice Pavilion. After knowing the attitude of the Ice Pavilion, Duan Lingya was completely disappointed. He thought of his second uncle, Duan Binghe, the left guard of the Ice Pavilion, ranked 31st in the Master Level Warrior ranking. His ice profound martial arts were very powerful, and some of Duan Lingya's profound martial arts were learned from him. With Duan Binghe, Duan Lingya did not think that Yi Chen would be able to do anything. He did not want him to die. He only wanted him to be like him, with only one right arm broken. An eye for an eye. Perfect. My Zhenyuan has been accumulated to a limit, and I will not be able to increase it in a short period of time. So, I will go with you to meet the Yi Chen guy. From peak level 8 Seas of Soul's Realm to half-step King Warrior, one would need to accumulate a lot of Zhenyuan. Plus, because of the body's endurance, it would not be done in a short period of time. Duan Binghe was still very far away from half-step King Warrior, and only his Zhenyuan was richer than normal peak level 8 Seas of Soul's Realm Warriors. It was also the reason why he was ranked 31st in the Master Level Warrior ranking. Thank you, second uncle. Duan Lingya was overjoyed. Duan Binghe laughed. Since when did you learn to be polite with me? I am your second uncle. You have been bullied, so of course, I will stand up for you. Plus, you are the #1 martial genius of our Duan family in hundreds of years. Losing your right arm would definitely affect your progress. Ha! I will make him pay. He had already planned to make Yi Chen pay the same price first, and then try his best to find a great medicine for Duan Lingya's right arm. Although it was very precious, it was not impossible to find. It would just take a bit of time. Let's go take a rest. After flying on the puppet for a week, Yi Chen did not really care about it, but Murong Qingcheng was wounded quite badly and had almost lost all of her battling power. Rushing like this would definitely affect her a bit. Li Xiaoran said, "There is a town down there. Let's go there and rest." The town was called the Ancient Cloud Town. Although it was called a town, it actually had a lot of people, at least 100,000. It was located at the edge of a huge mountain range, and there were a lot of warriors coming and going. The 5 of them jumped off the flying puppet and landed on the flat ground outside of the town. Entering the town, they could see warriors selling beast pellets and materials everywhere. There were also some shops selling pellets and weapons on the side of the street. It looked very prosperous. They are the most important part of the warrior world, Li Xiaoyan said emotionally. Yi Chen nodded. There were billions of people in this true spirit continent, and there were at least tens of billions of warriors above the condensing reality realm. Without these normal warriors, there would be no way to maintain the normal development of the warrior world. If it were not for him, the Yi Chen in this world would probably only be a normal warrior in the warrior world. If he was lucky, he might be able to live to a natural death, but if he was unlucky, he might be killed at any moment. The biggest restaurant in the ancient cloud town was in the center of the town. The 5 of them walked over. "Dear guests, please go to the 3rd floor. The waiter bowed as he led the way. Arriving at the 3rd floor, the 5 of them chose a table near the window and sat down. In the next room, Duan Lingya said, "Second uncle, they are here. He is Yi Chen. So young." Duan Binghe released his soul power without holding back, covering the whole restaurant. "Someone is watching us." Murong Qingcheng and the other 3 frowned. Yi Chen had already noticed Duan Lingya. He said lightly, "Since we are already here, we might as well go with the flow. Let's see what they're going to do."
Pap, pap.
Footsteps were heard, and 2 human figures walked out of the room. "You are Yi Chen?" A light white chi flow came out of Duan Binghe's body. It was like crystal and silk. If observed carefully, one could see that every trace of white chi flow was reflecting the surroundings, giving people a very sharp feeling. It was a technique of turning Zhenyuan into silk. Jing Aoshuan reminded, "He is Duan Binghe, the left keeper of the Ice Pavilion, ranked 31st in the Master Level Warrior ranking. Be careful." They did not know how powerful Yi Chen was yet, but judging from the ranking, it was necessary for Yi Chen to be careful. Taking a sip of tea, Yi Chen said, "I don't want to hurt you. You should go." Chapter 643. Yi Chen didn't want to have a bad relationship with the Ice Pavilion. That was why he had only cut off Duan Lingya's right arm. With the power of a rank 5 martial institution, they would definitely have a way to put it back. As for whether or not Duan Lingya could recover to his peak condition, it was not something he should worry about. Duan Binghe was the left enforcer of the Ice Pavilion, a top warrior of the Ice Pavilion. If Yi Chen killed him, It would definitely raise the anger of the ice pavilion. However, the premise was that they would not be too aggressive. Otherwise, even if Yi Chen didn't kill them, they would at least make them enjoy the same treatment as Duan Lingya. There were not many high-level warriors in the restaurant, but it did not mean that they were ignorant. They had heard about Duan Binghe and Yi Chen. One was called the Cold Master by the World, ranked 31st in the Master Warriors ranking list, while the other was a peerless genius, ranked 48th in the Master Warriors ranking list. It could be said that they were against each other. Hearing Yi Chen say that he did not want to hurt Duan Binghe, they were all shocked. They could not help but look at Duan Binghe, wanting to see his reaction. "You do not want to hurt me?" Duan Binghe pulled out a cold smile. "Young man, do not be too arrogant, and do not bite off more than you can chew. This time, I am not here to kill you. I am here to cut off your right arm. I advise you to accept the reality and not to struggle for nothing." "Cutting off my right arm? Are you planning to take revenge for Duan Lingya?" Yi Chen squinted his eyes. "Don't you think it is too cruel to cut off someone else's arm in a martial competition? I am here to teach you how to be a man." Duan Binghe's palm was covered in a layer of ice crystals. The structure of the ice crystals was different from normal ice crystals. It was harder like a diamond. Yi Chen glanced at Duan Lingya. "What if I say that it was Duan Lingya's fault, and that the battle between us was not a martial competition? What do you think?" Duan Binghe did not listen to Yi Chen's explanation at all. He said, "Save your breath. This time, I am here to cut off your arm. As for whether it is my nephew's fault or not, it is up to me to decide." Upon hearing that, Yi Chen chuckled softly. If Duan Binghe was provoked by Duan Lingya, then he would only wound him at most, and would not do anything to him. However, it was obvious that whether or not Duan Lingya provoked Duan Binghe, he was prepared to cut off one of his arms anyway. If that was the case, then there was no need for him to be a nice person anymore. "Since that's the case, make your move." Yi Chen put down the teacup. "Brat, don't blame me for being ruthless. You can only blame yourself for not knowing when to stop." Duan Binghe's body flashed. His ice crystal hand tore through the space, turning into a blurry shadow as it attacked towards Yi Chen. Wherever the ice crystal hand went, the water yuan qi in the air froze into tiny ice crystals, scattering everywhere. If Duan Binghe had not controlled it on purpose, the entire restaurant would have been frozen within a second. Of course, although the attacking range of the ice crystal hand had been reduced by a lot, the explosive power was much stronger. There was no such thing as holding back.
Clang.
Yi Chen was still sitting on the chair. He took out his gold sword and casually waved it. A thin gold mark flashed in the air for 1/100th of a blink of an eye. The next second, Duan Binghe's right arm was separated from his body. His right arm, which was covered in ice crystals, flew out of the window and landed on the plaza in the middle of the restaurant. That huge plaza twisted a little bit and was instantly covered by a thick layer of frost. The frost spread everywhere, and the ancient cloud town was filled with screams and screams.
What?
Duan Lingya, who was gloating, had his mouth wide open. He could not believe his own eyes. "My right arm is broken?" Duan Binghe looked at the gold sword in Yi Chen's hand, and then at where his right arm used to be. He mumbled to himself, as if he had not realized what had happened yet. "No, my right arm." Screaming out loud, Duan Binghe looked crazy. He had said that he was going to cut off Yi Chen's right arm, but it turned out to be him. The extreme contrast had almost made him break down. It was like a powerful warrior saying that he was going to teach a young warrior a lesson, but he ended up being taught a lesson by the young warrior. Putting his sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen said casually, "I gave you a chance, but you did not take it. You were so unreasonable that you wanted to cut off my right arm. Of course, I would not be merciful. Luckily, you did not say that you were going to kill me. Otherwise, you would not have just lost your right arm, but your life. Duan Lingya, take your uncle and leave. I do not want to see you in the next 10 breaths." Yi Chen looked at Duan Lingya, his killing intent spreading out. "You?" Duan Lingya wanted to say something harsh, but looking at Yi Chen's eyes, he could not help but shiver. He knew very well that if he dared to say one more word, he would definitely be killed. Holding Duan Binghe up, Duan Lingya flew out with a pale face. Before he left, he made a grabbing gesture with his hand, and the right arm that was covered in ice appeared in his hand. He then brought Duan Binghe and disappeared into the horizon without a trace. It seems like I have underestimated you, Li Xiaoyan gasped. Duan Binghe from the Cold Martial School, who was ranked 31st on the Master-level warrior ranking, was not able to handle one sword attack from Yi Chen and lost his right arm with just one sword attack. If he was not shocked, then he must have a mental problem. Li Xiaoyan's girlfriend, Yu Xian, felt her body going numb as well. She came from the underground world and majored in mind power. Her observation ability was twice as powerful as Li Xiaoyun's. However, just now, when Yi Chen threw out that sword attack, she felt like she was blinded for a second, and her mind power caught nothing. Needless to say, Jing Aoshuan was also shocked. Even Morong Qingcheng was very emotional. Yi Chen's spiritual sword had become even faster. It was 10% faster than when he was in the Morong family and 5% faster than when he was battling with Xia Hozuan. But it was not a small difference, as it meant victory. After resting for a night in the ancient Cloud Town's restaurant, the five continued their journey the next morning. The leader of the top 9 martial schools inside the Surreal Martial School, Zun you have to go to the altar to train the space profound. It was the headmaster of the Surreal Martial School, an elder in yellow robes. Headmaster, I have made up my mind, Xia Hozuan said with respect. Being able to become the headmaster of the school, the elder in yellow was not a normal master-level warrior. He was a half-step king warrior, and his power was at least a couple of times more powerful than Xia Hozuan's. The elder in yellow could tell that Xia Hozuan had been through something out there, which was why he could not wait to make a breakthrough. He reminded him, although you have trained the space profound on the altar before, it was only for a short time. This time, you'll be training for a long time, and it will be quite dangerous. The surreal space is colorless and odorless, and there is no sense of anything. Without a powerful will, it will be easy for you to get lost in there. If I cannot even handle this kind of difficulty, then I do not deserve to be the head disciple of the Surreal Martial School, Xia Hozuan said with determination. All right, you go then. Be careful. Headmaster, I will go now. Xia Hozuan took a step into the portal, disappearing without a trace. In the middle of the surreal space, there was a white gold altar with 6 pillars standing on its edge. Each of them was shining with a pure light, protecting the altar inside. This white gold altar was very similar to the undying altar in the underground world, except for the color. Shoo! A human figure suddenly appeared on the altar. It was indeed Xia Hozuan. Sitting in the middle of the altar, Xia Hozuan could feel that he had been separated from the outside world. In here, he could not feel anything, and all he could see was nothingness. If he stayed in this kind of environment for a long time, it would be very easy for him to get lost in there. This time, if I do not train my void-shattering finger art to completion, I will not get out. From 90% to 100%, the difficulty of the breakthrough was no less than learning the space profound. It was not something that could be done in a short period of time. But of course, once it was done, the increase in battling power would not be just a little bit, but more than double. Without realizing it, 1 month had passed. On top of the cloud mist mountain, Yi Chen was training his sword art. Yi Chen's sword art was very fast, so fast that it was countless times faster than the wind on the mountaintop. With each sword attack, one could not even see the sword's shadow, only leaving behind a thin mark. Because of the speed of the sword, before those marks disappeared completely, there would be new ones appearing, which made the marks around Yi Chen get more and more densely packed. It was like a ball that had wrapped Yi Chen inside. On top of a mountain dozens of miles away from the Cloud Mist Mountain, Long Bai and the leader of the White Dragon Palace, Missouri Foam, stood together. He has improved so fast. Long Bai sighed. Mo Feng said, I will go test him. Mo Feng's weapon was also a sword, a white one. His body flashed once, and dozens of miles of distance disappeared within a second. Mo Feng arrived above Yi Chen's head and threw out a sword attack. This sword attack was extremely sharp, and the sword light was like a long white dragon that fell from the sky. The intense white light shone out in all directions. Good timing. Yichen already knew that Long Bai and Mo Feng were watching him train, so he was not surprised at all. His step art changed as he threw out a sword attack.
Boom.
The space shook, and the space between the two started to twist. All right, take this. White Dragon 4 movement. Mo Feng's body moved around, traveling around Yichen. The white longsword in his hand was as fast as white lightning, attacking towards Yichen again and again. Yichen's body did not move, but he easily blocked out the incoming sword light. At the critical moment, he threw out a fierce counterattack, forcing Mo Feng to back out. Such a fast sword. Mo Feng frowned slightly. As the leader of the White Dragon Palace, he was more powerful than the leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace. In fact, among the 5 palaces, the leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace, Zhang Jingguang, was the weakest. The powerful ones would not be able to be the leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace. And Mo Feng's power was at least the second among the other 4 palace leaders. The only one who was more powerful than him would be the leader of the Azure Dragon Palace. Tornado Cloud Attack. Mo Feng performed his most powerful ace attack. He knew that he would not be able to hurt Yichen, so he did not care at all.
What?
As soon as he slashed out, the sword light condensed into a white dragon, which roared towards the sky. It was an extremely profound Zhen Yuan transformation, which already contained part of the essence of a dragon. It was no longer just a simple transformation. The white dragon circled in the air, bringing with it a berserk cloud chi as it ferociously attacked Yichen. Its speed could no longer be seen by the naked eye, and one could only see a white light flash by. Thunder Devour. Yichen threw out a sword attack as well. Silver lightning flowed along the body of the sword. When it reached the tip of the sword, it naturally gathered together and formed into a thunderball. The thunderball was not perfect, as it was missing a small piece, which caused some of the power to leak out. But compared to a month ago, the Thunder Devour right now gave people a feeling that it could destroy everything. It was as if the thunder had descended to the world, destroying all the filth in the world.
Boom.
The thunderball and the white dragon clashed together, creating a shockwave that spread out in all directions. If it were not for the two's control, everything within dozens of miles would have been destroyed.
Pap.
The thunderball was too powerful. The white dragon looked like it was being devoured by the thunder. It started to crack inch by inch, unable to stop the thunderball at all. After destroying the white dragon, the thunderball exploded and blew Mo Feng away. Entry completion of Thunder Profound. Mo Feng was shocked. He could tell that Yichen had controlled his power on purpose. Otherwise, that sword attack would have wounded him badly, or even killed him. Chapter 644. Putting his sword back into its scabbard, Mo Feng flashed once and flew over. I did not expect you to have trained your Thunder Profound to the entry level. In this whole world, there would not be many master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors who could beat you. Profound Sense was different from martial arts. Although martial arts could be divided into entry level, completion level, and completion level, they were all about the mastery of techniques and profound sense. However, profound sense was very simple and pure. It was about the understanding of the element. 1 would be 1, and 2 would be 2. Combined with techniques, it would form a martial art. In other words, profound sense was the foundation of profound sense martial arts. Without a high level of profound sense, the martial arts created would not be that powerful. It was just like building the foundation of a building. Without a good foundation, the building would be greatly affected, and it would be impossible to build it well. Training profound sense to the entry level was already very powerful. As for the completion level, even a lot of life and death realm warriors would not be able to reach it. The completion level would be the limit of the profound sense, which meant that one of the elements had already reached the end. Then it would be the natural law. Yichen chuckled and said casually, as far as I know, there is already one warrior who has trained his profound sense to the entry level. Right now, there might be more. When Bai Wuxiue and Xia Hozun battled, Bai Wuxue's Wood Profound had already reached the entry level. That Life Shield and Life Spear were both based on the Wood Profound, with the Life Profound as support. Their defensive and attacking power were both very shocking. After half a year, Bai Wuxue should have made it even further. And Mo Feng was not that old, even a couple of years younger than Long Bai. He sighed, "Within 10 years, there will be a life and death realm warrior in your generation. Perhaps even earlier." Although he had been living in the South Rudra Martial School for a long time, he was still very well informed. Some of the martial genius's improvements were simply unimaginable. One change in a couple of months had formed a healthy competition.
Shoo.
Long Bai flew over. "Yi Chen, you have grown to this level in just a couple of years. It is beyond all of our expectations." Long Bai thought to herself. Yi Chen said, "Many thanks to Sect Leader Long and Hall Leader Mo for protecting the Yi family. If Dragon God Celestial Palace has any difficulties in the future, Yi Chen will not shirk his duty." Without Long Bai and Mo Feng, Yi Chen would definitely be worried about the Yi family and the Sky Cloud Martial School, and would not be able to concentrate on training. In other words, although the Dragon God Celestial Palace did not reward him directly, it was nothing compared to protecting the Yi family. Mo Feng said, "What you have today is all because of your own hard work. Although we can protect the Yi family and the Sky Cloud Martial School, if you don't work hard enough or have no talent, everything would be for naught. However, right now, the Dragon God Celestial Palace is indeed in trouble."
Oh.
"What difficulties?" Yi Chen was a little surprised. A worried expression appeared on Long Bai's face as she said, "You should know that this is my great-grandfather's second closed-door training. The first time he came out after a year. This time, it's been almost 2 years. The forces in the Eastern Shallow Sea are beginning to stir. Don't tell me they dare to attack the Dragon God Celestial Palace?" Long Bai said, "Not necessarily. But, although a full-scale war is impossible to break out, some small battles are unavoidable. Just the Blood Battle Ocean alone has already broken out twice in a year. Our Dragon God Celestial Palace has lost more than 300 astral reaching experts, 20 Sea of Souls realm experts, and 3 Sea of Souls realm master-level warriors. The other 4 forces casualties added together are twice that of our Dragon God Celestial Palace. But they have the advantage in numbers. So, on average, the casualties are much lower. So many have died." Yi Chen's voice sank. For a rank 5 martial school, astral reaching experts and Sea of Souls realm warriors were the true combatants. Astral reaching experts and below would not participate in the battles, since their individual power was too weak. Even if there were thousands of them, it would not make much of a difference. Instead, it would slow down the speed of the battle. Plus, the martial geniuses below the astral reaching realm were the foundation of a martial school. Only when the foundation was strong enough could there be an endless stream of astral reaching experts and even Sea of Souls realm warriors. Therefore, they would naturally not be allowed to participate in the battles. Mo Feng said, "After a while, I might have to return to the Dragon God Celestial Palace. Just in case, I will not be able to protect your Yi family and Sky Cloud Martial School anymore." Yi Chen said, "No need to worry. I have already finished my training. In the future, I will not leave the South Ridra region as often as I can." Reaching his realm, he did not need much training anymore. Just the Battle of Geniuses would allow him to improve a lot. Right now, what he lacked the most was time. Only with enough time would he be able to create more powerful profound sense martial arts. That's good. Mo Feng and Long Bai's hearts were heavy. Yi Chen said again, "If the situation becomes critical, I can work for the Dragon God Celestial Palace anytime." As long as there was no all-out war, Yi Chen thought that he could be of some help. Plus, he also wanted to see Su Jing. It had been a couple of years already. Long Bai laughed. "It's good that you have the heart. I think there is no need for you to go." She was very confident about the Dragon God Celestial Palace. She thought that the situation in front of her was only temporary. As long as her great-grandfather came out, everything would be solved. The world of martial geniuses was built with loneliness and blood. All the martial geniuses who thought that they had the chance to shine were all working hard. They might be exploring ancient ruins, searching for treasures, or training hard to increase their cultivation. Of course, there were also some martial geniuses who liked to make breakthroughs through killing. North Region, Biming family's secret training field, hundreds of fireballs shot out from the 8 red totem pillars. They were only the size of a fist, but they were extremely fast. Because of the density, there would be 2 fireballs colliding with each other from time to time, causing a chain explosion. The shockwaves spread out in all directions. Biming Hui, who was in the middle of the 8 pillars, had blood dripping out of his mouth. He kept waving that long spear in his hand, either pointing, sweeping, or stabbing. But for some reason, he did not use any wide-range attacks, only using normal spear arts. Faster. Faster. I need to go faster. Biming Hui's spear art was no longer in a straight line, but in an unpredictable curve. But no matter how fast his spear art was, it would still be impossible for him to shatter hundreds of fireballs at once. He could only use his eyes to judge which fireballs were the most threatening and would cause a chain explosion.
Pooh. Pooh. Pooh.
The totem pillars continued to shoot out fist-sized fireballs. Although most of them had been pierced through by Biming Hui, some of them still managed to land on his protective Zhenyuan layer, bringing up waves of explosions and sparks everywhere. Standing in the center of the explosion, Biming Hui's qi and blood shook violently. His 5 senses disappeared, and his whole body seemed to have returned to his mother's body. Break. Opening his eyes abruptly, Biming Hui's eyes were extremely sharp, shining with a deep light that seemed to be able to see through everything. He twisted his right arm, and the long spear disappeared immediately, shooting out 4 to 5 curved silver light beams that pierced through the fireballs one after another. It was like he was threading a needle.
Who?
All of a sudden, all of the fireballs shot out by the southeast pillar were shattered. The pillar seemed to have sensed it and sunk into the ground. Right after that, Biming Hui broke through the fireballs shot out by the south pillar, causing it to sink as well. Southwest, west, northwest, north, the 8 totem pillars sunk into the ground one after another. Biming Hui stood there with his spear in hand, his aura powerful. Haha! I have finally created a new sky bank. Since it is based on the original one, I will call it the second movement of Sky Bank. Biming Hui laughed out loud. The original Sky Bank was too simple. It was fine for normal warriors, but not for young warriors who were at the same level as him. It would be even more impossible for it to work against warriors like Yi Chen, who had super fast sword arts and super fast reflexes. However, the second movement of the Sky Bank was different. This spear attack used the flexibility of the long spear, allowing it to hit 4 to 5 targets at once. There were curves and straight lines in the spear art, and even Biming Hui himself would not be able to control it completely. He could only change it as he wished. Yi Chen, you must not have thought that I could make a breakthrough this fast. I have created the second movement of Sky Bank based on the foundation of the Sky Bank. Although the average attacking power of the second movement has been lowered, with 4 to 5 attacks added together, it would be twice as powerful as the original one. Huh. I will beat you first, then I will challenge the top 5 young warriors. Biming Hui could not wait to beat Yi Chen, and after beating Yi Chen, his next goal would be to become one of the top 5 young warriors. After taking a couple of steps, Biming Hui suddenly stopped. I have made progress, but it does not mean that others have not. I have not mastered the second movement yet, so it might not be safe. I need to be absolutely safe before I go. Plus, challenging him right now would not be sensational enough. I will beat him in front of everyone and let them know that I, Biming Hui, am the most glorious martial genius in this world. After making up his mind, Biming Hui controlled his urge. Beating him sooner or later would be the same, and the latter would be more suitable for him. The top 4 families. The Duga family. There was a forbidden place in the Duga family, which was a strange cave. It was pitch black inside, and one would not even be able to see their own fingers. Even soul power could not be spread out, and all 5 senses would be lost. Standing very far away from the entrance of the cave, one would be able to sense the creepy qi that was spreading out from the entrance. It was a qi that contained all sorts of negative emotions: pessimism, pain, sadness, and sorrow. All of these emotions combined together, and those who did not have a strong willpower would fall into despair and kill themselves. Therefore, normally, when people from the Dugu family passed by this place, they would take a detour. They did not want to be stained by this horrifying qi, which would affect their mental state. The higher the cultivation, the more one would be afraid of the inner demon. Once it was activated, even a king warrior would have to pay a heavy price. As the saying went, the better the better. Inside the cave, it was pitch black. No one had noticed that there was a human figure sitting inside, enduring the endless negative emotions with a twisted expression on his face. Ju, take revenge for the Dugu family. Xiao Ju, I will leave first. You are a murderous demon. In Dugu Ju's mind, everything that he did not want to see appeared in his mind, and he could not tell if it was real or not.
Ah!
A loud scream was heard, and the sound spread out of the forbidden place. On top of a building a couple of miles away from the cave, a middle-aged man looked over worriedly. The Evil Demon Cave was a forbidden place for sealing evil demons. The qi that came out of it was something that even life and death realm warriors would not dare to underestimate. For a long time, the Evil Demon Cave had been a place to punish people who had committed crimes. Before, Dugu Ju had only trained outside of the cave, not daring to go in. Ju, do not disappoint me, the middle-aged man mumbled to himself. Chapter 645. It was June, the rainy season of the Windy Nation. The sky was gray, and it was drizzling. Occasionally, a gust of wind would blow over, and the raindrops would float in the air, forming beautiful arcs. The peak of the misty mountain was covered in clouds and mist all year round. Only when the rainy season came would the mist dissipate a lot, showing its true face to the nature. Sitting on a huge rock on the mountain peak, Yi Chun did not activate his protective Jinyuan and just let the rain fall on his body. Since he was trying to understand the nature, it would be best for him to be in close contact with it. The mountain peak was not flat. As the rain increased, some of the depressions had turned into puddles. The puddles were all over the place, big or small, deep or shallow. The raindrops fell into the puddles, bringing up circles of different sizes of ripples. Yi Chun stared at these ripples closely, sinking into the ethereal state. Pitter-patter. The ripples were born, expanded, disappeared, just like that. After an unknown period of time, Yi Chun let out a deep breath and came out of the ethereal state. Nature is indeed mysterious. Even the most ordinary details can make people ponder deeply. However, when ordinary people see it, they can at most create some ordinary martial arts. Only warriors with high cultivation can create profound martial arts that far surpass their imagination. In the past, he wouldn't have felt anything when he saw the rain. However, after creating the gold pattern, he began to dabble in the profound of water. In his eyes, the sky was like a supreme sword artist, and the rain was the trajectory of the sword. The ripples created by the raindrops falling into the puddles were the manifestation of the sword's might. Each raindrop was an attack, and thousands upon thousands of raindrops were thousands upon thousands of attacks. Yi Chun was shocked. His body floated in the air. Yi Chun took out a normal long sword and started to practice his sword art. Every time he waved his sword, it would bring up a circle of transparent gold pattern. It was the gold pattern. It could be seen that even though the power of the golden ripple hadn't increased by much, it was much smoother and smoother when used. The topic of geniuses never stopped. In a certain restaurant in a certain city in the Tianwu domain, a large number of peak cultivators gathered together. As they drank, they discussed. The scene was very lively. Have you heard? Recently, 2 new geniuses appeared in the Sky Martial region. One is called Helian Wuhua, and the other is called Shangguan Fei. I've long heard about it. When the 4th floor of the Treasure Holy Pagoda opened, they also went in. At that time, They were unknown and hidden in the dark. Now that they have come out, it is obvious that they think that their strength is sufficient. If Yi Chun were here, he would definitely know who they were talking about, Helian Wuhua and Shangguan Fei. When they were attacking the 4th floor of the palace, there were dozens of top young geniuses that he did not know. Among them, there were 3 who were the strongest. Besides Situ Hao, the other 2 were obviously Helian Wuhua and Shangguan Fei. I've heard about it too. Both of them are amazing. Helian Wuhua had defeated the 69th ranked Master Fire Cloud, while Shangguan Fei had defeated the 63rd ranked Master He Shui. One of them used 3 attacks and the other used 4. Both of them are incredibly powerful. I cannot believe that the ranking is going to change again in less than a year. I think there will be a lot of young geniuses in this ranking. Of course. But you guys still do not know about this. Half a month ago, there was another young warrior named Situ Hao who had challenged another master on the ranking. He had defeated his opponent with only 1 attack. Who did he defeat? 1 attack? That master must not have a high ranking, right? Otherwise, how could he have been defeated with only 1 attack? Someone asked. You are all ignorant. The master that Situ Hao had defeated was none other than Tu Yuan from the Shattering Sword Master.
What?
Tu Yuan from the Shattering Sword Master? Everyone was shocked. Tu Yuan from the Shattering Sword Master was not a normal master. On the ranking, he was ranked 33, which was 15 ranks higher than Yi Chun. Situ Hao had defeated him with only 1 sword attack. That kind of power was unimaginable. It was 10 times more shocking than Helian Wuhua and Shangguan Fei. Did you remember it right? How could he beat Tu Yuan with only 1 attack? Why would I lie to you? I was there at the time. I saw him reach out his finger, and the long sword on his back came out of its scabbard on its own, wounding Tu Yuan badly. Controlling the sword to attack the enemy. This is a long-lost sword art. I cannot believe Situ Hao had learned it. Situ Hao's horrifying power had formed a deep impression in everyone's mind for the first time.
Dong, dong, dong.
Rushed footsteps were heard from the stairs as a human figure walked up quickly.
Hurry.
Bai Minghui is challenging one of the top 3 master-level blade artists, Lin Chaonan. What are you guys waiting for? That person said hurriedly. What? Bai Minghui is challenging Lin Chaonan? Let's go. Who was Lin Chaonan? He was one of the top 3 blade artists, ranked 19 on the ranking. His power was definitely at the same level as the top 5 young warriors. Bai Minghui had just become famous at the beginning of the year, and it had only been half a year since he had dared to challenge Lin Chaonan. It was definitely shocking news. Without even taking the stairs, everyone flew out of the window. As they flew out of the restaurant, they saw a lot of human figures flying out of the city. All of a sudden, all of the warriors in the city started to move. 30 miles outside of the city, there was a long river. A lot of warriors had already gathered by the riverside, creating a huge crowd. I wonder what Bai Minghui was thinking. Even if he had to pick someone, he should have picked a weaker one. Why did he have to pick Lin Chaonan? I guess he was just too full of himself. He wanted to become famous overnight. Lin Chaonan was ranked 19 after all. Beating him would be enough to prove that he was one of the top 5 young warriors. He would be able to beat Yi Chun and Dugaju. You are right. But I do not think he will win. Me too. Lin Chaonan was way too important in everyone's mind. Not to mention Bai Minghui, even Yi Chun would not be able to win. In their opinion, among the top 5 young warriors, besides Bai Wuxue and Lu Xiaoyu, the other 3 would only be around the same level as Lin Chaonan. Since the ranking was close, then the power gap would not be that big. In the sky, 2 human figures were facing each other. Lin Chaonan, who was carrying a long blade on his back, said coldly, Bai Minghui, I admit that you are a top martial genius. But it is still too early for you to challenge me. Bai Minghui chuckled lightly. Shen Qianlang had been beaten by Xiao Chua twice. This time, it will be your turn. But I am a spear user, so I will not compete for the top 3 master-level blade artists. Lin Chaonan frowned. Are you sure that you want to challenge me? I will not go easy on you. If I make a mistake, I might wound you badly. He had decided to teach him a lesson. Otherwise, if everyone came to challenge him, he would be busy to death. Don't worry. Facing me, you will have to use all of your power. After Bai Minghui had created his second movement, he had spent some time training it. But he still needed to use it on his opponent. Otherwise, he would not be able to see the flaws. But right now, he would not challenge Yi Chen. He needed another powerful opponent to train his second movement. It would not be good if it was too weak, and he would not be confident if it was too powerful. Therefore, he picked Lin Chaonan. Since you are this confident, then cut the crap and let's begin. Lin Chaonan did not take out his blade, as he looked at Bai Minghui coldly. Not taking out your blade? A smile appeared on Bai Minghui's face as his long spear suddenly attacked out. It was like a silver flood dragon attacking toward Lin Chaonan.
So fast.
Lin Chaonan had miscalculated a bit. His body backed out quickly as he took out his long blade, blocking in front of the silver flood dragon's horn.
Boom.
The shockwave spread out, and Lin Chaonan looked a bit worse for wear. Let's use all of our power. Otherwise, I will not be interested in you at all. Before, his opponent had underestimated him, so Bai Minghui could definitely beat him with one attack. But he did not do so. He needed his opponent to use all of his power in order to test out the power of his second movement. As you wish. Lin Chaonan looked a bit more serious. This Bai Minghui did not seem to be easy to deal with. He had underestimated him a bit. Moon cut. The blade glowed with a bright moonlight. Lin Chaonan arched his body, and like a bouncing star, his speed was unimaginable. While he was in the air, he slashed down with his blade. The blade could not be seen at all. It was like a ray of moonlight. Not bad. Not bad. Bai Minghui nodded with satisfaction. Sky Bank. Without performing the second movement, Bai Minghui shook his right arm, and the long spear stabbed out at an extremely fast speed. Because of its extreme speed, his hand disappeared along with the long spear, as if it had disappeared into the surreal space.
Ting.
The invisible spear light landed on Lin Chaonan's blade light, blowing him backward. Lin Chaonan, the previous two attacks were just warm-up. This next attack will be my real power. Watch carefully. His body jumped out as Bai Minghui performed his ace attack. The long spear disappeared again, shooting out 5 curved silver light beams. It was so beautiful that everyone watching could not help but moan.
Ting.
Lin Chaonan had only blocked out one of them, and the remaining 4 landed on his chest, stomach, right arm, and leg.
Pooh.
Puking out a mouthful of blood, the long blade in Lin Chaonan's hand went out of control. It spun in the air before finally stabbing into the wall of a mountain. Lin Chaonan lost. The result was so shocking that no one could believe their own eyes. He really lost. Since when did this Bai Minghui become this powerful? Even Lin Chaonan is not his opponent. Doesn't that mean that he is already one of the top 5 young warriors? I thought that Yi Chen would be the one with the highest chance. I did not expect Bai Minghui to be one step ahead. This is really unexpected. While everyone was discussing, Lin Chaonan stood on top of the mountain where the long blade was stabbed into. He looked at Bai Minghui in disbelief, his face blank. Bai Minghui's voice was heard. Very good. You are indeed one of the top 3 master-level blade artists. You managed to block out one attack. It seems like it was the right choice to test my power on you. Test my power? Lin Chaonan was angry and bitter at the same time. Even he had not expected that he would lose to a young warrior who had just become famous at the beginning of the year. Being able to be my test target, you should be proud enough. Bai Minghui did not even look at Lin Chaonan's expression as he carried the long spear on his back and flew into the distance, soon disappearing into the horizon. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.